Lund is a lo-fi artist who blew up in 2020 and has averaged millions of streams ever since. He has very emotional music who tends to draw his fans in. The question is, what is the story behind all that emotion? Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy. Lund grew up in Moreno Valley, California, and when he was born, his mother was just 16 years old and his father was just 17, both in high school. His father decided that it was more important for them to get their finances straight having a child, so he dropped out of high school to be able to work full-time to provide for the family. Unfortunately, after Lund was born, his mother did not like the baby weight that she gained, so she would start abusing drugs, which her father did not like, and neither did Lund's father. So both of them decided together that Lund was better off away from his mother's custody and staying with his father, where he would remain throughout his childhood. His earliest memories of music would be when he was in the car with his father and grandfather and they were playing the radio. They liked a particular station that typically played bands like Sublime, Radiohead, and the Red Hot Chili Peppers. At around 6 years old, his grandfather on his mother's side would start teaching Lund how to play the guitar and a little bit of some other instruments, and this would be his first major introduction to music. With that being said, just 2 years later, at 8 years old, he had a major shift in his life because his mother would leave his father just after his father was diagnosed with bipolar schizophrenia. This would leave Lund to be taken care of exclusively by his grandparents. Around 13 years old, one of his friends would get a laptop with an app called Ableton Lite on it. You can think of it as similar to FL Studio, but for Lund, this was his first discovery that you could actually make music online or virtually or on a laptop and not just have to play it all yourself. With this, he immediately was very interested in making music and would go home and beg his mother to get him a laptop. Eventually she would, and he would allegedly torrent a version of Ableton. With this, he would start immediately working on music and tell his mother that he was going to be a musician when he grew up. Now, at the time, she kind of dismissed it and said that that's a cool hobby, but that's not really how you're going to make a living. And a few years later, he would decide that she was right and he would go get a job. He would get a job at Del Taco, and his music would transition to him just making beats, to him realizing that you can just put out the music independently, and he would start working on vocals and making kind of the whole process just through himself. With that being said, he would start releasing music and eventually would decide that Del Taco wasn't paying enough and he would move to work at a construction place. Year 16 was really tough for Lund because his grandfather, who introduced him to music and played a significant part in his life, would pass away, and his girlfriend not long after would end up cheating on him with his best friend. This led to him being very emotional and deciding that he was going to try to release it through music, using music as therapy, which if you watch my last few videos, it's not that uncommon for these lo-fi artists. Through these musical therapy sessions, he would end up writing a song called Broken, which at the time he was not sure whether or not he should release because it wouldn't really fit the music he was making at the time, and he wasn't sure how his audience would feel about a super emotional track mixed with all the other music he was making, but eventually he decided to go for it. Now, as I said, at the time of him releasing the song, he wasn't taking music that seriously. It took 3 or 4 months later for him to realize the opportunity that he had with the song because his grandmother would tell him that he had mail, which would contain a check worth about double what he was expected to make that month. And then the same thing happened the next month, and the next month, and the next month, and he realized that maybe this is something he really should be taking seriously, and it's way better than that construction job. Now, Broken highlighted 3 things for Lund. A, he could make hits. B, the music that he was kind of nervous to release, that he wasn't sure if fans would like, absolutely resonated with them, and really emotional music just works. And then C, he can start taking music really seriously. So he started looking at label offers, he found one he enjoyed, and he signed with them. The first thing the label wanted done is a remix of the song Broken with some bigger names on it, which was something Lund was already considering. So the label, with all of their connections, decided they would reach out to a few artists and see if anyone gets back to them, and the 2 that did were Noah Cyrus and Little Skies. Both of them apparently were kind of eager to work on the song because they were fans of it in the first place and thought they could add something special to it. Lund was absolutely in love with the idea, sat back, let them work on it, and that's where we got the remix to the song, which would only boost Lund's popularity. Now since then, Lund has put out a few songs, they're averaging a few million streams, and it seems as though he's pretty established as an artist, has his core fan base, and belongs in the lo-fi scene. If you enjoyed this video, you might enjoy my other ones about Pofu, Sad Boy Prolific, and maybe even some of my rap ones. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy.